100, 100 episodes. So today is going to be a little nod back to my first podcast, The Friends of a Feather, which I paused a few years back. And I say it's a nod because I used to do a top 10 with Wren, and I would do top 10 ways to grow your faith, or top 10, I think even like top 10 with Wren at Christmas time. So you would know really exciting things to buy for Christmas that benefited local people and also mompreneurs and things like that. And so that's what I did for Friends of a Feather. But for you today, you are going to get the top 10 with Wren, and it's the top 10 episodes of Don't Wing It. So this is the top 10 episodes of the highest number of downloads, or it could be an episode that had a lot of social media engagement, or it had a lot of people talking. So the top 10 are going to be shared with you today. So let's jump in. It is not in there's no order. There's no order with it. It's just these are the top 10 that I wanted to share with you that were memorable to me and also from those that I have heard of. So if you haven't caught any of these, I want you to go in the show notes below, the description. So you're on your app. If you're listening on your app, which most people are, you scroll up and then there's the description for this episode. I am going to put links for every single one of these 10 if you have not been able to listen to those. Maybe there was one that you did not catch, or you want to listen to it again. Go for it. Remember, these are bite-sized episodes, and you can catch them while you're running, doing laundry, or in the car doing carpool. Here we go. Remember, no particular order. Here is the top 10 with Wren. The first one, let's go, is episode 51, and it's entitled Don't Stay Stuck. Whew. And on this episode, you will hear me share a little bit about how perfectionism can keep you stuck. Ask me how I know, right? I think if somebody were to ask me to look back at my business when it started in 2020, and they would have said, "Hey, Wren," or even before that, when I had the vision for it and the goal for it, what stopped me the most? I would have said myself, perfectionism. So if you want to hear more about that and how you don't have to stay stuck and learn how to start your podcast in quarter 4, I specifically said that on episode 51. And so I want you to go check it out, but it's entitled Don't Stay Stuck, and you will hear about how you don't have to, and you can overcome that perfectionism. Start your podcast in quarter 4. Go check that one out. It's fun. All right. Next, number 2 is episode 38. Episode 38 was How Do I Grow My Podcast? This one is very practical. And you know how I used to teach kindergarten, and practicality is my middle name. I want you to take these strategies and skills that I teach and you to start your podcast and to grow and to do a great job with it. Remember, I'm always here to help, but I give you those strategies here. And so episode 38 is How Do I Grow My Podcast? And then I give you specific ways to grow it. So check that out. If you're a podcaster, or maybe you haven't taken the plunge yet with starting your podcast, go listen and hear that practical goodness. Okay, the next one, this is number 3, the third top 10 with Wren. The third episode I want to mention to you is episode 40, and it is How to Have a Capsule Podcast. You've probably heard about a capsule wardrobe where you have everything that you need and you mix and match, and it stays there and you refresh it once in a while, but nothing that you have to add to it every week. It stands alone. And that is similar to a capsule podcast. It's more of a fix it and forget it so that you can forward people to that capsule podcast, but you don't have to continue creating episodes every week if that does not float your boat. I do go in depth with things to consider if you are going to take that step and do a capsule podcast. So you will want to check that out if that is something that you are thinking about. Remember, a capsule podcast is if you have 6 to 12 episodes, you put it out there and then you don't record anymore. You leave it there and you forward people to it. So that is an option if that is something that you are interested in. And that's episode 40. So go check that out. All right. Number 4 of Top 10 with Wren is episode 27. Episode 27 was highly practical. It was called 10 Elements of a Good Podcast. This is a great place for you to start. If you know you're going to have a podcast and you want to know the elements of a awesome podcast. I mentioned on episode 27 that these are must-haves for your podcast. I told you it's highly practical. So you will want to go check that out if you are going to start a podcast soon. 10 elements of a good podcast. Go check that out. Next is episode 36. Episode 36 is really strategic because if you are thinking about starting a podcast and you still have some doubts about it, this is the episode for you because it is filled with 5 questions to ask yourself. So if you're questioning, should I start a podcast for my business? Here are 5. Those are on that episode 36. There are 5 questions I want you to ask yourself. And then I lead you through a rubric. If you answered yes to 4 or more questions, then this is what you do. If you answered 2 or 3 questions yes, then this is what you do. And if you answered 0 of the questions yes or 1 question yes, I tell you what to do. So it is highly practical, highly granular, and it is important if you are wanting to start a podcast. Ask those 5 questions of yourself on episode 36. All right, let's go. So the next episode that I'm including on my top 10 with Wren is episode 66. Episode 66 is don't let self-doubt, don't let criticism, and don't let the perfection trap keep you stuck. Another one about getting stuck and keeping you stuck. We don't want to do that. I want to set you free from that. And so keeping you stuck is self-doubt, criticism, and the perfection trap. But guess what? I'm not here for it. And I know you're not here for it either. So what I want you to go back and listen to is episode 66. And the biggest, most important thing that I will ever say on a podcast episode is in this episode. So go listen. It's really important. And I would, if you are a believer and a Christian, I would love for you to let me know if you found out what that was on that episode. I think you'll know when you hear it, but it's the most important thing that I have said on a podcast episode. That's episode 66. Let me know in my DMs if you know what it is. All right, let's go to the next one. Episode 46 is using your podcast as your content marketing strategy. Using your podcast as your content marketing strategy. And this one is probably the most practical of all my episodes. I know I say that a lot with practicality, but it really is important when you have a podcast. This is for free. This is a nugget. It's really important when you have a podcast is to keep it practical. Yes, we're going to have mindset episodes. Yes, we're going to have things in there that are part of our stories. But if you will keep it practical, that will keep people engaged and excited to listen to your episode. Okay, so episode 46 is using your podcast as your content marketing strategy. And in that highly practical episode, I talk about the 80-20 rule. And that is really interesting. And you will want to listen to episode 46. All right, let's keep going. This is probably the second most practical episode, and it's episode 65, and it's called How to Plan, How to Write, and How to Record Your Podcast. This is how to plan out your next 3 months of content in 12 minutes. 12 minutes. Your next 3 months of content in 12 minutes. And do you know why it only takes 12 minutes? I timed it. I know. So I lead you through that journey and lead you through that process. And it is for you for the taking. Go for it. It's episode 65. Next this is number 9 of the top 10 with Wren. Number 9 is episode 67, and it was how to batch record your podcast episodes. And I talk about Subway and how they batch our sandwiches for us. And then there is a really great researched quote that I share with you about entrepreneurs. So you're going to want to go check that out. And I give you a lot of encouragement and then the benefits of batching your tasks that you have for your business every week. And so I share with you how to batch your podcast. And the last one, last but not least, this was dear to my heart and it spoke clearly to a lot of you. I heard a lot from you on social media about this one. This is episode 53, and it's called What Every Christian Business Owner Needs to Hear. And I want to implore you to listen to this one. If there is not any other episode that you listen to from this episode, from this top 10, I implore you, I ask you to listen to this episode because you will be buoyed up in your faith if you are needing that boost of just something that is missing and that maybe you're lonely, maybe you are in your business and you just need a boost today. You will want to check out episode 53, What Every Christian Business Owner Needs to Hear. And I am thrilled to bring that to you as well. And from Don't Wing It, I want you to be encouraged to step out with your God-given message. And remember, I created this podcast so you don't have to wing it on yours. I want you to get everything you need, and I want to help you to speak into the mic and to overcome the self-doubt and to get away from being stuck and being able to experience the excitement and also the connection with your audience and the future clients that are going to be brought into your business through your podcast. Remember, I'm here to help because life is too short to just wing it. See you soon.